These two are reverting the insides of their mouths, specifically the walls of the cheeks. Human cheeks are relatively smooth on the inside, but these have thick vertical folds. That's exactly what the inside of the newborn's mouth looks like. It's filled with those vertical folds. On a side note, that white stuff under the newborn's tongue is the liquefied teeth cells that have been left ungenerated. If it were to generate those missing teeth, sockets would open in the gums and the liquefied cells would move in and form teeth. Normally, this process would happen so fast that you just see the teeth suddenly appear out of nothing, and they can ungenerate their teeth just as quickly. The newborn's tongue is close to 18 inches long here, and it may not even be fully decompressed. The others are also showing tongue reversion and decompression, all with increased length, and the two at the top right showing increased thickness and width as well. The one at the far left also has her eyes looking in different directions, and they can all do this. I've seen it in person a number of times, in addition to videos and photos. Here's a video demonstration of tongue reversion and decompression. This is something called face pulling, which is also shape-shifting. He's compressed the middle of his face so that he can pull his lower lip over his nose. They're reverting the ends of their tongues into forked tips. A snake's tongue has pointed tips, but a drac's are rounded, more worm-like. The newborn has reverted the fork in this shot, and that's what it looks like on the others. Presumably, like other reptiles, this helps them with their sense of smell. This one is going to demonstrate the muscular movement of the tips, how she can control them independently. She's also going to show some other reversions and shape-shifting. Here's the shape-shifting I was talking about. She's ungenerated most of her human lips in this frame. Now she's reverting the gap in her lower lip on the right side, and also on the left side to a lesser extent. It's not as deeply reverted, but you can see that it's the same gap that James has. Here's another demonstration of independent tip movements. And you'll see that she's also reverted her canines into fangs. Those are her real teeth, and that's the source of vampires' fangs in legends. She reverts her mouth a bit as well. This demonstrates the function of the lower lip muscle, which extends the lip further out in front. That's exactly what you're seeing on this guy. That piece in front is clearly extended out from the rest of the lip. He's also reverting the bump on his chin. The newborn has a pair of bumps in the front of its maxilla, between the upper lip and nostrils, either muscles or scales. You can see the same formation on Benjamin Netanyahu, below his right nostril. It's not as pronounced as the newborn's, but it has the same shape and orientation. He's also reverting his lower lip and chin. The frame on the left is Arnold and Conan the Barbarian during the dog chase scene. He's reverting his entire face, but we're looking specifically at the nose here, which has a tip on the end that sticks out like a bat's nose. That's the same on the newborn, and I'm quite sure that it's a real part of its body, not a prosthesis. This exposed tip probably contains receptors, which would give them an excellent sense of smell. Parker's devil also has a pointed tip on the end of its nose, and given all the other similarities, I don't think it's a coincidence. The dragon in this painting of St. George and the Dragon also has an extended nose tip, and it's a biped as well. So I think this confirms that this feature is part of the native form. This is Sean Bean in the island, who's reverting his left nostril. It's completely open to the front, and there's a ridge along the side. That's what the newborn's nostril looks like, same shape with the ridge around it. This is Mira Sorvino and Mimic reverting her right nostril, maybe both, but the left side is too dark to see. Hers is larger than Sean's, but it doesn't have the ridge around it. She's also reverting her maxilla and jaw, which are taking on the appearance of an animal's muzzle. This is Jeanette Goldstein in Aliens, and she's reverting the same ridges along the sides of her nostrils. The ridges extend down to the upper lip, and you can see that on the newborn as well. This is Brian Glover in Alien 3. He's reverting the left side of his mouth and the end of his nose, which has developed a cleft in the septum. The newborn has a cleft or groove in the middle of its nose tip, so that may be the same thing. It's also possible that Brian's cleft is where the nostrils will split apart when they revert. Dragons are almost always depicted with horns, and that's based in reality. The Dracs do in fact have horns, at least 2 sets, one in front on the forehead and the other at the back of the head. All of these individuals are reverting their forehead horns, and the one at the top left is also reverting the rear horns. Those are the bumps coming out. The Drac playing the newborn doesn't have its forehead horns reverted, but even if it did, you wouldn't see them because they'd be covered by the mask and hood. The horns are out of the forehead on these two. That's Arnold and Conan on the right. His horn is shaped somewhat like a ram's horn, as it turns down and then back at the end. It also has segments in it like a ram's horn. As with any animal, horns can be useful for offense or protection. Obviously, these are ramming horns, not goring. But on a large creature with a long, powerful neck, it would produce a great deal of impact. Here are 2 more with forehead horns. They're not fully reverted. The one on the right changed her horn over time. It was straight when she was younger, shown in the top photo, and later in life she increased the length and made it curve down in front of her eye. Obviously, she had to wait a few years to do that. Otherwise, it'd be suspicious if she changed it in a short period of time. I don't think the 2 on the left are actually horns. I think that they're shapes generated to look like horns, but they're not part of the native form. The others are legitimate horns. The reason I know this is because they're all coming out in the same place, and they have consistent shapes. These are the rear horns of the native form. The 2 on the right are also reverting their neck tendons and creases. One of the frames we just looked at comes from this video. Notice that she sticks her tongue out at the beginning to let you know that she's a Drac. This is not an old woman. This is a giant predatory alien that's reshaped its body into something that resembles a human body. And the horn is the only natural part of this form. Here's more proof that she's a Drac. Her left pupil is shifted into a slit, and she's reverting the scale segments around her mouth in the right frame. These screenshots were taken with the in-loop locking filter disabled to preserve the detail of the original video. The meaning of this should be clear now. Yes, they are Satanists, but that's because they're his children. They're dragons, and they have horns. Dracs have very long, cone-shaped craniums, and that's what they're showing here. That's Keira Knightley from Domino in the bottom right frame, and Gary Robbins from Humongous on the left. The child has the most impressive one, and it's definitely not water on the brain, which is the official explanation. The newborn's head has the prosthetic hood over it, which extends to the back, but you can still tell that it has that long cone-shaped cranium underneath. Looking at these two together, there's no question that Gary Robbins and the newborn are the same species. These are the stages of the center forehead ridge being reverted. On the left, you can see that it starts out as a narrow strip originating from the bridge of the nose. You'll see sharp creases in the brow along the sides just as it begins to emerge. Then it comes out as a strip on the forehead, which often looks like a vein. The middle frame is showing it at about its half-reverted state, where it's much bigger and has formed into segments. The right frame is showing it in its mostly reverted state, except that it lacks the segments. You can see that it stands well out from the face and extends from the nostrils to the top of the forehead. That's Sandal from Conan on the left, and her center ridge has the segments like the one in the middle. So that's what you're looking at. It's not scarification. It's a Drac reverting its center forehead ridge. These are also center ridges being reverted, and you can see that they actually extend to the top of the head. The one on the right is also reverting its middle knuckles, which shows that it's a Drac and not a human with a deformity. Even with the prosthetic hood, you can still tell that the ridge is under there. Obviously, it's longer on the newborn because its cranium is longer. These two are reverting furrows or ridges in the tops of their skulls that run from front to back. Again, you don't see this on the newborn because it has a hood over its head, but I've no doubt that it's a feature of the native form. The newborn and Parker's devil both have large holes in the sides of their heads. Actually, the newborn has several of them, the biggest one first in line behind the prosthetic eye socket. I don't know if this is an actual feature of the native form or part of the prosthetic hood. Parker's devil seems to indicate that there's a feature like that present, but whether that's it or not, I'm not sure. That's Monique from Domino on the left, and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio from The Abyss on the right. They've reverted their eyes to slit pupils. When they revert from the human imitation form, the irides turn black and become rectangular, forming the slit pupils. Slit or elliptical pupils are able to admit more light than comparably sized circular pupils, so they provide better vision in darkness. The Dracs are a subterranean race, so it makes sense that they have slit pupils. I know from personal observation that they can see much better in darkness than humans, at least when they've reverted their eyes. However, I'd expect that their dark vision isn't as good when their eyes are in human imitation form.